So this is something that I wrote back in 2023, so about 3 years ago. Um, I hope it helps someone who's in the process of grieving. I called it, "You Become Unrecognizable to Yourself While Grieving." Most of us have lost someone close to us due to death. We expect to lose our loved ones at some point, such as our grandparents and parents. Even then, we aren't ready when it happens. We take time for granted and always wish we had more time to spend with them. But what happens when you lose a child? A child who you watched grow into this amazing little you. Even may have watched grow into a teenager or adult. How do you deal with that kind of loss? How do you help someone else deal with that kind of loss? In 2012, I experienced this loss when my 15-year-old daughter passed away from an asthma attack. I not only lost her, but I lost myself in the loss of her. I don't even know the woman I used to be anymore. She's a ghost of me, a dream, like someone I made up in my mind. She had more fun, felt more free, loved harder and faster, was much funnier, and didn't need so much validation from anyone. She most definitely was not needy or needed someone to pick her up when she was down. She didn't need a relationship or even desire one the way I do now. She had her shit more together than I do, and she wasn't scared of shit, not of losing people, and she lived her life for her kids and herself. I don't know where this me even came from. I feel like I've been sleepwalking through all these years and just now waking up to the passing of all this time. I was so terrified after losing my oldest that I was afraid of it happening again, of losing another child. I was terrified of being the one thing I love being the most, a parent. Instead of grieving together as a family, I separated us and sent my son to live with his dad and stepmom, and my daughter stayed with a really good friend of mine for a while, because I didn't want them to see me fall apart. But I should have kept us together. I was so entrapped and engulfed in my own pain that I couldn't see that it was a crucial time to be together. And while I went and got to the other side of my grief, my babies never fully grieved the way we would have and should have as a family. I feel I let them down. I will forever and always have to live with these choices I made, and my kids and I will never know the closeness it may have brought us. I've always been a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. This is the hardest thing to keep belief in when something like that happens, which changes your whole reality. It changes you forever, and the person you were before the loss will become a ghost. It's as if that version of you only existed because they did, and that version of you died. I not only lost my daughter, but she was also pregnant with my grandson, and after 15 days in the hospital with complete damage to the brain, she left us and took him with her. It got even harder when my friends began to have grandbabies, which seemed instant after my daughter and grandson passed. To be honest, I hardly talked to anyone anymore. I had changed so much that I knew they wouldn't recognize the person I was becoming. They couldn't comprehend what I went through and to what degree it affected me forever. I didn't expect them to, so I became distant, and I just never went back to talking to any of them. And I'm not even sure why. I must admit that I have changed, drastically changed. I think for the better, at least I believe so. I have grown and learned so much about myself and my spirituality, as well as opened my eyes to the people and the world around me. I know I never could have had all this spiritual awareness and growth without experiencing the gut-wrenching pain of losing her. I not only grew in awareness, but I have found my gifts and abilities and my purpose for being here. In losing her, I found myself, and that is the most unfair lesson ever. Loss has just become this thing in my life I have had to overcome, endure, or adapt to, it seems. I lost my mom in 2019, right before COVID happened. Since I was an only child, I had to deal with everything alone. From her time in the hospital to her death and funeral, all while working a demanding job at the time. And as of recently, I found out my dad died after he spent the majority of my life in and out of prison, only getting out like 2 years before dying. I only even saw him a handful of times, and still it made me sad that he will never know me, my kids, or the beautiful twin grandbabies I have now. Time definitely isn't a friend. Even though it isn't supposed to exist, this world or hologram we live in, it does a hell of a job of making it feel real. One of my best friends lost her 2 boys to an interstate accident, and I thought that we would help each other grieve and heal. because we could relate to the loss. But instead, she pushed me away, and after a couple of years, she herself died. She couldn't take the pain and the loss. I believe she died of a broken heart. Her broken heart caused her to self-sabotage her health and well-being. I was so angry with her at first and so devastated by her death that I pushed away another dear friend who is also her brother. I pushed him away, I think, because he reminded me so much of her. She was one of my closest friends and one of the greatest and strongest women I knew. It was cruel and selfish of me to do because he had just lost his sister and I should have been there for him. I recently realized that I tend to escape into my own world when I lose people. A disassociation skill I perfected due to being raised by my depressed and schizophrenic single mom, who I also lost just 2 years ago. And now, today, another friend of mine, an important person in my heart who helped me tremendously after losing my daughter, told me today that his son was just killed. I want to reach out more and be there for him, the same way he was for me. I don't even think he knows that he played a huge part in helping me heal. I don't think he even realizes the impact he made in my soul. He helped me to not feel alone while in my pain. To be honest, he probably helped save my life. As much as I want to reach out to him every day, I'm afraid he won't let me and he will push me away. And I don't think I could take being pushed away for a second time by someone who is dear to my heart because of losing a child, something of which I can help cope through because I understand that devastation on a soul level. I say it's like being in a club that we never asked to join. I wouldn't wish the pain of losing a child on my worst enemy. There's a thing called the grief wheel, which explains the cycles of emotion and thought processes while grieving. It just goes around and around through it and back around to feeling it again, over and over until we decide to get off it. I know now we cannot and will never get out of the wheel or the cycles. I know now that we can never fully heal, at least not on a human level. We learn to live with it, how to suppress the pain. That is until the birthdays and death anniversary roll around year after year. It doesn't become easier. We just become masters of disguise while going through the never-ending roller coaster of emotions. Today is the anniversary of her asthma attack. Currently, it has been 11 years since losing her. She was 15 and now would be 27. I have no idea how it has been 11. Like I sleptwalked the whole 11 years and now am just waking up to the realization of the passing of time. The pain is still so fresh, the smell of the funeral home imprinted in my senses forever. And somehow, in the sadness, in the pain, and in spite of losing a part of my soul, I came to understand the statement, it all happens for a reason, on a level I can't ever explain. Life really is a puzzle that you cannot fully understand until you have all the pieces laid out in detail in front of you to analyze, from beginning to end. I feel like such a weaker version of myself somehow. But then, I remember I have survived something I almost didn't, what many never come back from. So I only feel weak because I'm so damn strong. Exhausted from the fight to survive is what I am though. But I truly was the sleeping phoenix and have risen once again. All I can say is, watch what I set out to do next.